right, we're here. We're on our YouTube and we're going to play and create today a faux glow dichro. Right? It's super easy, and forgive me if my eyes are wandering all around. I'm not used to being horizontal format, so sometimes I'm looking in all the wrong directions. So I'm not seeing my comments, which is funny to me. Where are my live chats? All the messages are visible. Okay, well, let's see if anybody pops up there, and I will look and see if it's showing up on my other technologies here. And let's see those comments. Okay, good. We're looking over there. Great. All right, it looks like we're here. So Gillian says hi. I just wanted to make sure. I often can be in the wrong place. I try, but that doesn't mean that I am always where I should be. So hello to everybody. We are doing a live chat here on YouTube. I've been trying to do a few of those for no particular reason other than they're fun. Hi, Pixie. Hi, Suzanne. I just got finished speaking with many of you. I have a membership group called the Creative Circle. You can go on my website. I'll put that in the description after this posts. And you can go check that out. It's a $10 a month membership that gets you in on perks such as projects every month, more interaction, ongoing projects, and what we just got finished with. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Janine. Hi, various folks are popping up there quickly. Heaven's Handicrafts, hello. Let's see if I missed anybody there. Just hi, Suzanne. Hi to everybody. Hi, Paula. But the Creative Circle, Suzanne says it's the bestest. It is. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, everybody. So we're having a great old time doing our projects together over there. So if you want a little bit more weekly Christy time, that's the way. But we'll keep doing stuff over here as well. Hi, Amber. So today we have, hi, Heidi. Good to see you. We have a fun thing to create. And I'm going to just chit chat for a minute or two, excuse me, and then we're going to jump right into the creativity. We're going to be working with, hi, Katie. Excuse me, with polymer clay today. You know, sometimes I use polymer clay, sometimes I use epoxy clay, sometimes I just use a random third thing, but we're going to use polymer clay today and create sort of the look of faux opal. Now there's, well, faux dichroic glass, I guess I should say. There's a lot of projects and how-tos out there on this. So this isn't like something I just made up and I'm the smartest in the world. I mean, I am and everything, you know, plus humble and all. Hi, Myra. Hi, Molly. Hi, Janet and Diana. Boy, everybody's here. Hi. But it's a very simple way of creating this look that you guys might like. So you can do this with liquid clay and with resins and all kinds of other things. By all means, Google search that, YouTube search that, find other ways to make it. But this is like the super simplest of all. Let me get that where you can see it. And one of the things about this that I think you'll like is because we're using glass, it can go in and out of the oven, or it can be embedded into your epoxy clay. Either way, you don't have to worry about resin, because I know some of you are either hesitant to use it or sensitive to it, or don't want it to yellow over time. Some resins do, some resins don't. That's a whole nother thing. Hi, Siobhan. But it's super simple to make, and it's very versatile. So what I'm using for this is two simple things besides polymer clay: iridescent film and a little glass puddle. Now I happen to carry this on my website. What? Who even knew that if you can't find some, you can get them over there. They're inexpensive. But this is the same little foil that comes on a gift basket. So find someone, hint non-subtly, because sometimes people don't get the subtle hints, that a gift basket wrapped in that, you know, that lovely iridescent paper, that would make me just feel so loved. All right, and then grab all that, and you're just gonna wrinkle it up into a tiny little blob like this, as wrinkly as you can. Squash it, because then when you open that back up, you get all of those little wrinkly bits that catch the light, and that's the key. Now you can use just an unwrinkled flat bit of film, but why when you can have wrinkly? Plus, also look, like imagine if you wore this as your mask, you would be able to see yourself and be also very cool. Although I suspect it may not be very effective. But anyway. All right, so here's our film. And then the other option is just a little piece of glass. Now, this one's a little glass puddle. And you can get like little glass cabochons everywhere. They're all over the place. So now this one I like because it's a little bit bigger and it's got some, it's not perfect. It's got like some irregularity to it in the way that it's made. And I find that quite delightful, which is why I bought some and carried them on my website because I like them and I have ideas with them, but they also make for a really great thing like this. The other thing that we're going to be learning is how to encapsulate that piece with the clay to hold it all together. So you're making a clay bezel at the same time, which is another skill that is very good to have. Lynn says she got turned around when I didn't show up right away, and then the YouTube sent me to videos instead of to home. I know it takes a little bit to kind of get in the rhythm of what we have to do, and I have found that when you go to my channel and click on videos instead of just the home part, you just jump in real easily. Cheryl says, nice haircut. Why, thank you. I took a chainsaw to it and just went like this, and that's what happened. Oh, it was time. It was getting so boring. So anyway, thank you for that. Thank you for noticing. Anyway, why don't we get started creating? So here's the part where it's dumb because I still haven't figured out my technology. And I know I keep saying that, and I apologize for being a ding-dong. But I've been busy with stuff. So I'm going to try and flip this thing around so we can see what I'm doing. So bear with me. If I end up dropping everything, I guess we'll find out what happens with that. So I have to turn it over, but then I have to spin it around, hence the trouble. But woo! So you're spinning in. Okay. Now let's see if I can get that to be where it needs to be. Okay, I think we're getting close. And there we go. Boom. How about that? Good? Okay. So we'll fine tune that and get it a little bit more straight as I can watch it on the screen. But I think we're looking pretty good here. Okay, kids, what do you think? Everybody good here? We can all see what the heck's going on? Excellent. Ah, wonderful. Phew. Okay, so now this is where we're headed. This is where we're starting. We've got our little puddle of glass. We've got our piece of film. And all you're going to do is use a pair of scissors. I mean, you can use your teeth, but I don't find that to be as effective as a good pair of scissors, which, by the way, these are like the best scissors ever. They're a Japanese, like Ikebana type scissor for the flower arranging. And I just use it all over the place all the time. I love it. I've got it over on my Amazon influencer page. So if you wander over there, you can see some of the things I recommend, including these scissors. And now you can see already how great that's going to look, right? There's our little piece of film. There's this. You notice the precision with which I hacked that, not unlike my haircut. And I am just going to show you how great that looks. Now, the first trick is I want you to make sure you wipe this back side. Because if you have a nice big thumbprint right in the middle of that, and then you sandwich everything in, guess what? You have a thumbprint project, which is not as exciting as it could be. So clean that part off. The front part doesn't matter. We'll clean that when we're all done. Now I'm going to just place this on top of this and then this on top of that. You can just stick it right straight on. I like to use just a touch of liquid clay just to kind of hold things in place. You do not have to do that. But I feel like it's kind of a nice little additional thing. So I didn't include that at the beginning of what you'll need because you don't really need it. But I like how it makes everything stay put. And of course, it will go away and look clear once it's done because it is a translucent color. Anyway, let's see. Paula says, now I don't have to go to spinning class. Myra says, does anyone remember the actual name of that film? Like to buy a big package of the wrapping paper online. I do carry little pieces of this online, but if you know, because sometimes we don't want an entire roll of that. So I think I've got a little pack for $2 that's got a few, like 4 pieces in it. But I think it's just called iridescent film. So if you're looking for it online, that's really all you need to look for is that word, iridescent film, and you'll come up with a lot of options on that. And I think if you go to any big box store, especially like in the bridal section, they'll often have that there too. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to start by adding a little band around there to kind of hold everything together. So now I've got my little bit of this and I'm rolling it into a snake. All right. And I also I'm not like trying to make that too perfect. I know sometimes people use an extruder and make these perfect. Here's what I feel like about perfection is that if you start with something that is perfect, anytime you get the slightest bit of variation, that perfection goes away, and that is a problem. So I like to have something that gives the appearance of perfection but has that bit of organicness to it, so that you can have a perfectly balanced thing, but you're not burdened with trying to keep perfection going, and therefore it will look bad when it's not great. Does that make sense? All right, so now what I've done is I put one ring around, and you notice I was kind of holding and pushing as I went because, you know, this is just a piece of glass on top of a piece of plastic. It's going to scooch all around. Sharon says, maybe a silly question, but is the cellophane safe to use in the oven? Actually, that is not a silly question at all. And this cellophane goes great in the oven. So this is the stuff that I sell on my site. But that is like a fantastic question because you can have a cellophane that is just a mess. The only reason I know that is I've used it with liquid clay and a heat gun and nothing. I mean, if there's heat directly on it, it seems to be problematic. But underneath something like this, it works great. Go figure. That worked out. It works out fine, but that is not a silly question at all. That is a really good question. Now, will all films do that? I do not know. I know this one does, and so you can just experiment maybe on something that you don't mind losing if it goes awry. All right, so now see what I did is I started with my little snake, and I'm pushing it to grab it on all the way around, and now I've kept on going until I've kind of run out of clay, and I've tapered it a bit as we go just to make it look more pleasing. Speaking of perfection, I found out that my large circle cutter isn't circular. A lot of those cutters are not because they're made out of metal, and it's not like super strong. It's got some flex to it. So yeah, sometimes you end up with a shape that is not exactly the right shape. So I just like kind of squish it a bit. And now I just make kidney shapes all the time instead of circles. And then, yeah, but that can be a bit of a problem, huh? All right, so now I'm adding more. The idea here is that you want to encompass this glass so that it can't fall out. All right, which means you got to overlap it just a little bit. And I'm going to take that end, and I like little curls. I feel like they're friendly and nice. So I'm just going to add a little curl onto the end of that and press that in place. And as long as this clay is touching the other clay, that's going to be fine. If you put little clay details just floating around on the top of the glass for no reason, that's not going to turn out great because it'll just pop right back off again unless you glue it on. And I try not to use glue if I don't have to. Glue is not always as dependable as we wish. So if I can make a clay to clay connection, then that's what I'm going to do. So see what I've done here is I have just pressed this into place until I have completely encompassed my circle however I like. Now I'm going to just take my needle tool, although you can use a cutting blade or whatever you want to do, and get rid of the extra. And I am angling this a little bit on the inside. So as I'm cutting it, it's cutting it in like this instead of out like that. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say there, right? So just kind of angling my cut like this. And let's spin this around a bit because it's easy to not cut right along the edge. And if you don't, like, no big deal, right? As long as it looks good. That's my rule of thumb usually, is does it look good? And if you look at something and some awkward imperfection or whatever is glaring and problematic, then it's like, nope, work on that, fix that. But that's ultimately my only concern is does it look good? All right, so now I've got everything done. I can leave it just like that, but I'm going to get my blade in here and kind of spatula that off of here so that I can pick it up and just take that edge and just make it look a little bit cleaner because it's kind of rough over there, and I don't want it to look rough. I want it to look awesome. Now this thing I can use as a pendant, or I can make it as part of a larger wall piece, especially like using epoxy clays and such like that. But I'm kind of giving it a good press all around, and we'll put it back down here in a different position than it was. And now I'm going to look at my lines and decide, okay, this line, that needs a little bit of help right there to make it look more purty or better. That had a goober on it. I think that goober is going to try and stay there. And here's a good thing. It's like there's a little bit of something that happened there. And trying to get rid of that is being problematic, right? So what are my choices? I can keep working on it till I get it just right. But it also may be one of those things is like, well, maybe I will just make another little curlicue and decide that it becomes now just an additional feature. And we can add that right on and give myself just a little bit more fun. And if I have two, I might as well have three. So let's do that. And another little curlicue. And how about like this? So sometimes things that don't immediately do what you want them to do, or it's not a bad thing. It just opens the door to additional leverage in the creativity department. All right, so now that actually looks a little nicer because we've got three things as part of our decorative element. So you can keep adding as many as you want. On this one, I just had one, but then I kind of did a crazy here. So, you know, you can make these all day long and vary how that goes. Let's see. Speaking of, oh wait, let's see. I have a whole bunch of Angelina film. Yeah, that'll work great. Nice combo with this sort of puddle of water look. Yeah, now you could have like a little mermaid around the side or an octopus or some other kind of nifty thing like that. Myra says, I love that you made this with a big cab so it's easy to see what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we get those little teeny cabs and this will work perfectly with those, but this gives you a different scale. Now, look at this one. What I did is I put powders on here to get an antique look, all right? And all that is putting a light colored powder and then using tape, and then after it was baked, and we'll talk about baking in a second, kind of burnishing that off with some sandpaper and stuff. I'm going to go a little different route with this right now, and I'm going to do, I use a lot of pan pastel to color things. That's sort of my go-to color. And what I did on this one initially is I have this minty, it's a phthalo green, and that's where I made this antique look, which is kind of fun. What that does is it really lets the color of the dichro jump, and because it kind of makes the rest of everything look old and kind of fall out of sight. But it's not the only color that could look good. Let's do something here. Since we've already got one like that, let's take something else. And this one is a magenta. Let's see what this one's called. It's a magenta shade. And I'm going to take a little bit on my brush and just add a little bit here and there. And it will do the same thing because it's a lighter color. So you still get a little bit of that kind of whitewash effect, but because we've got the purples in there, it kind of changes the look. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking some of this and I'm adding onto the surface and brushing it on. And then if I want to, I can leave everything just like that, or I can come back with a piece of tape and lift it off of surfaces where I don't want it. And that is a way of accommodating. And I see a little muck right there. Let's fix that. Accommodating, you know, sort of a color scheme and having it just a little less dramatic. So now see what I've done there is I've added some nuance to it, which is always good. I'm always a big fan of giving a couple of different colors going on so that you have a bit more sophistication and layers and that kind of thing. Yeah, somebody mentioned it would look great with Swelligant. Absolutely. Swelligant is a metal coating. It's one of my products, a metal coating line where I could coat this all like with silver and then oxidize it to make it look like old silver and pop it with just a bit of color, that kind of thing. The other nice thing to be able to do is now to take this, and if you've got any micas, you can take a little bit of mica on your finger and just hit the highlights of that and give it a bit of gilding, you know, to kind of bring out the more fantasy version of that. So you see how that changes it as well. And obviously you can combine as much of this as you want until you're sick of it, or until it's completely covered, whichever comes first. And if you get any of the powders and stuff here on the glass, don't worry about it. When it's all done, you can go back and wipe that right off with a wet wipe. Okay, so now I'm going to spin this around again. Everybody got their fingers crossed? Let's hope that I can figure it out without making everything fall apart. Whoa, whoa. It's me again. Hi, everybody. Wow, yay. Okay, so now let's talk very briefly about baking. As you all already know, polymer clay is an oven curing clay. So you've got to put that now into the oven to bake and get hard so that you can then use it for things. So if I was going to make a pendant out of this, what I would do is put a little bit after it bakes, put a little bit of liquid clay. And again, liquid clay, all of the brands that make polymer clay make a liquid clay. And it is just a super saturated, clear or translucent clay, and its main purpose is to connect clay to clay. It has other things it can do, but clay to clay connection is the thing it does. So after you've baked all that in the oven, and I would preheat my oven, I have a whole thing on baking, so you can go here in my YouTubes and find my little baking video, and there's many baking videos out there that are all great. You just preheat that oven to the temperature recommended on your clay packaging. All of your clay will have some instructions on it that will tell you how long and what temperature, and that's what you want to do. Lynn says, oh, this is fun. I'm laying the first section of my mosaic, so I'll have to try it later. Ooh, exciting, mosaic. And this would be great. Like, you get this baked, and then you start building a mosaic, or you make several in different sizes and cluster them around. Woo, yeah. Yeah, Suzanne says, everybody do a little thumbs up and a like, you know, make some comments, things like that. That always helps push me up in the YouTube algorithm. So thank you for that, Suzanne. But then with your baking, you're preheating that oven. You're putting it in for the recommended time. In this case, it's primo, so I'm preheating it to 275 or slightly above. I'm putting it on the tile in the oven for about 45 minutes. And then you let it cool completely, and boom, you're ready to go. Then I'll flip it over, add my liquid clay, and I could put a pin backing on there if I wanted to wear it for a brooch, although that one would be rather heavy. Or I put a little hook if I want to wear it as like a pendant or put it on the wall. Or what I would probably do with this myself is then add it to a mosaic and keep on going. Like, imagine a cluster of those bubbles everywhere. How fun that would be. When you turned on the light, the cabs looked like they were glowing. I know, it's amazing with that. And this one's not really catching the light exactly, but you can kind of see, look at that as it catches the light. It really does glow and has that depth to it, which is like super fun. I just love that. So it's so simple. It's such an easy thing. It goes good with any color of clay that you have. Scrap clay, just play with it and see what happens. You have a number of things that you can do besides being able to use this domed glass, which I like because that gives it that kind of opal feel to it. Any glass would work. If you have you can buy the little diamond glass cutters at the hardware store for like they're $5 or something, and you can just take an old picture frame glass or a broken piece of window or whatever, be careful, don't cut yourself, and cut little pieces out of it and now make different shapes. I mean, it's super easy to do. Very cool idea, says Deanna. You're welcome, my friend. And Gillian said it would make a cool journal cover center medallion. Yes, it would. So there's a lot you can do with that. Super simple, super easy. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Bake it once it's cool. Do something clever with it. If you liked this, obviously, please double check down below and do the likes, do the comments, share the link with other people, tell folks about it, make it, and then you can wander over to my Christie's Creative Neighborhood Facebook page, which is my public interactive page where you guys can share what you're making, ask questions, show each other how it's worked out, share links for fun stuff, whatever. And then, of course, wander over to my site if you need those little glass puddles because they're cheap and they're fun. All right, kids. Siobhan was saying in glass making, you can use silver film and then bake a clear cab over it. Yes. And gold film is gold leaf and stuff as well. So there's just some nifty little crossovers that you guys can do with stuff like this. But what I love about it is it's just film that you can pick up in so many places. You might get some candy you eat that's covered with a film and you go, oh wait, this film is kind of iridescent. I wonder how that would look. And you just play with it and see. So have fun, guys. I know that you can have a great time with it. Oh, I'm sorry. Emily says, can you make a loop out of clay for a pendant right now? You can, but I would suggest, Emily, that because this is a fairly heavy piece of glass, that just a polymer clay loop on there, not quite strong enough. So what I would do is I would take some 20 gauge wire and I would insert it inside, like I'd bend it and then put clay over it, either by making a snake and putting it through or just wrapping it around and then attaching that so that the wire is touching onto the clay, giving it some strength, not just floating out there. Make sure the connection is good, or tucking the wire in and then covering it up, or even just tucking a wire in and letting the wire show as it is without clay. But just the clay by itself is strong, but it might not be as good to hold it if necklace is getting a lot of wear and tear and it's heavy. But if you make it thick enough, then that's like, let's say you made it twisted around and it became part of the snakes that wandered around the cab, then that would absolutely work. So any of those things could work great. Okay, so that's a lot of great ideas. I can see that you guys have your creative gears are turning. You have things that you're thinking about and stuff you're going to do with this. That's awesome. Please go post it over at the Christie's Creative Neighborhood as you make it. And who knows, if there's a whole bunch of people posting that, I might just randomly choose a winner to receive something fun, because why not? All right. Okay, kids, have fun. Happy creating, and I'll see you back somewhere on the internet, here or otherwheres, soon.